What is up, you guys? Welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, just welcome. My name is Gemma Jade, but today we are going to be discussing a little bit more on the soul harvesting, mainly with the reptilians and the alien greys. And a lot of this is going to feel like maybe a recap of the last few videos, but I feel like we kind of need to condense the information and get ready for everything that's coming next, because I promise you it's going to be amazing and mind-blowing. So the other day, like I said, I did a few videos about how some entities and aliens and possibly other things we can't put a name to yet have been either reaping our souls or sucking our energy from us while we sleep with the intent of eventually stealing our souls. I got such an amazing response from you all personally and in the comments that I just had to cover more of this terrifying idea / possible phenomenon. I told you guys there will be more to come, and there is so much more. So we've already discussed Whitley Strieber and how he got a response from his extraterrestrial or alien, whatever, visitors, right? I haven't read the book yet, but I do believe that these were what have come to be known and as called by us, the alien greys. They explained to him what all of the abduction and visitation phenomenon was about. They're after our souls and basically recycle them into new bodies. The second thing these alleged visitors told him was something that, in part, I fully believe myself, and that is that the incarnation on Earth is like school for our soul. It learns, evolves, and grows with the more we go through and learn while it's with us for this lifetime. So we come here to learn a few things, and once we do, we ascend. However, do we do this in order to gain some experience or something? If our souls need to learn something hard or confusing, we come here to Earth. We learn it while we're here in this lifetime. If our souls need to learn something hard or confusing, we come here. However, do we do this in order to gain spiritual ascension, like I pretty much believe, or do we just come here and hopefully learn everything we need just to be recycled into yet another body in order to be fed off of by these extraterrestrials and other entities? While I fully believe in the feeding, I'm not sure what to make of the soul reaping yet, and that's kind of why I wanted to condense all of this, add a little bit more, and see what you guys think. First of all, it's so bizarre, and second of all, it's just really terrifying and something I am having trouble wrapping my head around because I cannot understand what the winning point is. I say that meaning whose soul is harvested for recycling and whose soul gets to go on to spirit and grow and ascend, who makes that decision, what are the qualifications. Unfortunately, I won't be able to answer that for you all today, but I'm working on it, and I have come across some more fascinating and horrifying research, not just about the soul reaping and energy draining, but these things being done by one entity in particular, the alien greys, and also some other pretty crazy stuff that I didn't know where else to fit in, so I kind of mushed it here. Before we get into all of this, though, would you kindly lend me your ear for a few moments while we talk about today's sponsor? Nail Reserve of Los Angeles is a vegan, cruel-free gel soak-off nail polish company who is sponsoring this channel, and I am so excited to have been able to work with them because I am one for fake nails and long nails, and my nails aren't that long, but look how awesome this polish looks. Now, my polishing skills are not up to par, as I always say, but I wanted to show you guys, again, we've got the Precious, right? A very popping pink. That is one coat with a base and a top. I'm going to be trying very soon Cherry Soda. On my feet, I got Dusk at Sea. Oh my gosh, I love all the colors, but this one, guys, you've got to look at it. You just have to look at it. It's so, so beautiful and bright and vibrant and fun, especially for the summer. It could also be a nice winter color as well. We've got the base coat and the top coat here too. I'm going to try to make a little commercial I can just kind of stick in so I don't have to do this every time, because even though it's super fun, I don't want you guys to get bored of it. Go on in to Nail Reserve Los Angeles, okay? This is Aqualicious. That's the blue, purpley blue that I'm wearing. They have so many colors. I want to see what you guys are interested in, what colors you get. I want to see your manis. I want to see your petties. Hit up the description box for a link to their site and put in the coupon offer GemmaJ, capital GEMMAJ, for 50% off. They're giving you 50% off your whole order. So go in there and get you some for your manis and petties for this summer, because this stuff is not going to come off. You have to use a UV lamp. I got one for like $7 on Amazon. 90 seconds for each coat. It dried. This stuff is not chipping. It's not peeling. It's not coming off until you soak it. Thank you so much, Nail Reserve Los Angeles, for sponsoring this video. I am so blessed. I really, really appreciate you. And thank you guys for understanding that I have to take these couple of few minutes, because sponsors are what are going to help further this channel and to help me bring you guys better content each and every time. So with all that being said, back to the topic at hand. If we are to take the soul stealing and combine it with abduction and even some contact phenomenon, then we could possibly be looking at something far more demonic than alien here. That's right, I said it. I want to discuss for a few a man named Howard Menger. Howard was a sort of well-known and vocal member of an extremely exclusive club called the Contactees quite a few decades ago. The members of this club all have in common that they have been contacted by means of physical abduction or telepathy by what they call benevolent, quote, space brothers from outer space and or distant and faraway lands. So some of them claim to have been contacted, like actually taken, actually contacted, or telepathically communicated with. Howard Menger claims that back in the 1950s, he had made friends with an alien who allegedly explained to him that there were both benevolent and malevolent entities who aren't by any means human right here on Earth at this time. Back then, at that time, and I'm saying still to this day, that there were both negative and positive entities already here, and that Earth is, simply put, quote, a battlefield for nothing less than the souls, end quote, and most likely the minds as well of human beings. That's insane to think about, but something most of us already know to be true, right? In October of 1973, an encounter I would consider quite significant happened in Mansfield, Ohio, right here in the United States. It was nighttime, and this encounter involved a UFO, or a flying saucer, as they were called back then. We spoke about this in the last video, remember? The helicopter crew and how they witnessed a large cylindrical-shaped gray-colored UFO, and in quite close proximity as well. I wanted to reiterate how the crew that had this experience was contacted, quietly of course, by some government entities and were asked a series of bizarre and seemingly nonsensical questions, considering who was doing the asking. And I bring this up because it brings us right back into the topic. It all meshes together. If you didn't watch the last video, I'll leave a link in the description box, and I will try my best to put it in the corner here on this video somewhere. It's probably good for you to go back and watch that one, and then don't forget to come back here and watch this one. So anyways, for those of you still with me, do you remember John Healy? He was the guy who was a member of that crew aboard the helicopter that October night and was most vocal about what happened afterwards with the questioning by the government, questioning that bordered on harassment. Healy would later publicly state, quote, as time would go by, the Pentagon would call us up and ask, well, has this incident happened to you since the occurrence? And in two of the instances that I recall, what they questioned me was, number one, have I ever dreamed of body separation? And I have. I dreamed that I was dead in bed and that my spirit or whatever was floating, looking down at me, lying dead in bed, end quote. Interesting, right? I mean, considering what we now know from the last couple of videos and what many of us in this community have experienced at least once. The out-of-body dream or out-of-body nightmare that we now know what that really is, don't we? How about Paul Inglesby? Inglesby is the author of a book called UFOs and the Christian. In 1938, which ironically, or maybe not so much, was just 1 year before World War II began, using the name Eric as an alias, he came down with a deadly case of malaria. He almost died from it back then and spent a lot of time in this dazed and hallucinogenic type state bordering between life and death. It was during the near-death state that Paul Inglesby, aka Eric, had a frightening and terrifyingly real dream, more like nightmare. He would talk about it years later and describe it as having happened in some unknown time in a very far distant future here on Earth. The planet was completely destroyed and there was radioactivity in the air all over the place. Unidentified flying object crafts flew everywhere over the skies and far above the death, destruction, and chaos on our planet below. These crafts weren't just seeing, though. No, they weren't. They were launching radioactive missiles which were killing billions of people and completely murdering our planet itself. The skies were filled with smoke and almost everything was on fire. The UFOs, though, were piloted not by extraterrestrials as we always think of and kind of now know that, like, that's who fly UFOs. No, they were being piloted by demonic entities. The goal of these demons was to reap the souls of the people below who were dead and dying from the attack. For Paul Inglesby, this was warning enough, it seems, and when he finally came out of the semi-conscious state of the malaria, he became a Christian and spent the rest of his life living for God, working to further the church and Christianity, and warning anyone who would listen to get out of the idea or let go of the idea of UFOs and extraterrestrials and to just leave it alone altogether and stop pursuing any of it or risk the loss of your very soul. So, do we believe that this sickness-induced nightmare was just that? A dream, a nightmare, nothing more? Or could this have been an actual warning for us to stop trying to understand what is going on in the skies, for it could very well be demons we're dealing with here, as the Bible says the Nephilim or the jinn in Muslim. I actually have something coming up where a man, I believe it's in England, but don't quote me on that, used the fact that he's possessed by a jinn or is a jinn as his defense in a murder trial. So stay tuned for that. Let me know what you all think in the comments below, please. And as always, be respectful to yourself and others. Getting back to Whitley Strieber, I think it's worth mentioning here that when his book Communion came out back in 1987, it didn't only garner tons of attention from the ufology community, but the general public as well became very interested in the book, the phenomenon, and what Whitley specifically had to say. Some people think that this had to do with the fact that Whitley Strieber was already a pretty well-known author and dealt with fiction and wrote action-packed horror fiction that really is said to have gotten the reader's mind working overtime, but it wasn't real. Could it be, though, that this is when it may have just started to become cool, at least a little bit, to delve into the world of ufology? Perhaps. The attention given to this specific book, though, was that of which the likes of the community of ufology as a whole had never seen before. Were people finally waking up and paying at least some attention to this otherwise ignored and sometimes mocked phenomenon? Yeah, pretty much. Whitley's book was different in that it didn't go where all of the other books about abductions and flying saucers went at the time. Books always focused on the seeming experiments being done on abductees, and the theory of the time was something to the effect of the aliens are scientists and that they are here for the genetic exploration to explore our species. While he did look deeply into that angle and covered it, he wasn't afraid to take it a few steps further and really get into what it was he personally had experienced. Though far more controversial for the time, Whitley merely wanted to get the truth of the matter out there to the masses, and also he wanted to get himself to the truth of the matter. He said a lot of things that were considered taboo for the time, and also many things that no one else had ever really considered, at least not publicly. One of those things was that he didn't believe his captors were alien or extraterrestrial at all, but something different altogether, at least as far as what we would consider aliens or ETs to be even to this day. He said perhaps what he encountered were entities that were too far beyond our human comprehension, and therefore we couldn't possibly put any type of name to them. That makes a little bit of sense to me. Strieber also noticed that these entities, whatever you want to call them, had a very deep interest in the human soul. The soul, the one part of us, at least as far as billions of people are concerned, never, ever dies. Was this an interest in our own mortality or an interest in general in immortality? That's a question I pose to you. Once Communion was on the shelves and available to the masses, Whitley started receiving an overwhelming number of calls and letters from people who have had their own experiences with extraterrestrials or who have been abducted by one entity or another. One thing remained constant throughout all of his correspondence, and he was able to conclude without a doubt that the abduction process was somehow linked to our human souls. As a follow-up to Communion, Strieber released the 1988 book titled Transformation. In this book, he recounted from the letters and calls he had received and told the experiences of many of the people who had reached out to him to share their experiences after reading Communion. These extremely traumatic encounters were sent in from abductees, and almost all of them reported the exact same thing. The visitors, mainly the alien greys we know today, but it wasn't only them, but mainly them, definitely had the ability and know-how to be able to literally extract our souls from our bodies. They also reported, almost all of them again, that the entities did this on a fairly regular basis with those they abducted. This is where the soul recycling and the earth being a school information comes in, which I've mentioned numerous times previously, not only in this video, but in some of the other ones as well. It wasn't only Whitley Strieber who had come across information leading him and so many others to conclude that the soul reaping done mainly by the gray aliens, but not exclusively, was actually going on, but that it just may be too terrifying and also too massive for most of the population to be able to begin to wrap their heads around. Remember, we discussed Dr. John Mack and his patients Greg and Isabel and how they were convinced and possibly even told by the entities themselves that they were taking souls, and also that a human could easily be fooled by them into simply handing their own souls over to the entity. I'll never forget it. Here is how Dr. Mack actually described what Greg told him he was experiencing. Quote, Greg told me that the terror of his encounters with certain reptilian beings was so intense that he feared being separated from his soul. Greg said, quote, if I were to be separated from my soul, I would not have any sense of being. I think all my consciousness would go and I would cease to exist. End of quotes. So I know this video seems kind of like an overview to what we already learned, and it was to a degree, and also it was super short, like I said, just trying to condense everything. But I also think it's very important we know exactly what we are dealing with here, at least to the very best of our ability, and never, ever, ever underestimate any of these entities and energies, and never let our guards down either. Now, I'm getting both sides of the fence in the comments. I'm getting people saying that I'm constantly saying it has to be, you know, either warmongering, attacking extraterrestrials, enslaving us, or peace-loving, hippy-dippy extraterrestrials. I do believe it's both, you know. I believe it depends on which entity you're dealing with. I don't believe all of the grays are this way and all reptilians are that way. And I believe it's all inclusive, I guess would be a way to say, just like humans. Some are a-holes and some are really kind, and some are brutal and murdering, and some are sweet and sincere and giving, you know. So I'm not saying one way or another that all gray aliens are soul stealers or all reptilians are warmongers. I'm not saying that. It varies by video because I'm trying to learn with you guys. I'm not an expert on extraterrestrials. Fairies, shadow people, spirit, the deceased, okay, maybe. But this type of stuff, I am learning as I go along. So that's all I have for you today, guys. Please be sure and give this video a big thumbs up. If you haven't already, stay tuned as there is so much more to come that I'm already working on. So if you enjoyed the content, hit that like, subscribe if you aren't already, and please go on over to my work in progress, slowly, steadily, kind of climbing channel, MoonBearOracle, and subscribe over there to give your girl a little bit of support. I would really appreciate it. If you'd like to make a donation, check the description box. You'll see my PayPal, Cash App, Amazon wishlist gifts link, and my Patreon. If you donate $20 or more a month to Patreon, you will automatically receive, along with other benefits, a personal intuitive oracle reading from me to you as a gift. Thank you so much to Nail Reserve Los Angeles for sponsoring this video and this channel. I am just super excited. Guys, check out the description box to hit the link to get to their website and get your 50% off discount on your order. Again, send me pics. Let me know what colors you chose. Let me know how you love it, all right? Give me feedback. I want to hear it. Don't forget, Tuesday nights live from Another Dimension with myself and Ghost Dragon ZW from 8 p.m. Eastern to 10 p.m. Eastern, where we talk about you guys. What are you up to? Us. What are we up to? I'm trying to bring back the old fireside chats that I used to do with Steve Stockton on Sunday nights. Wednesday nights for 4 to 4.5 hours, 7:15 to 11:15-ish p.m. Live intuitive oracle reading. I pull one card from a random deck for anyone and everyone who wants one. Ghost Dragon ZW hangs out with me, takes my list. Come on in just to hang out. Come on in to get a reading, see what it's all about. If you would like a personal intuitive oracle reading from me, if you would like a manifestation session, an energy cleansing or clearing session, a one-on-one reading, a remote personal intuitive oracle reading, discussions of phenomenons or entities you're dealing with or just curious about, hit me up to make appointments or get information on all of that at MoonBearOracle@gmail.com. If you have any encounters with supernatural, paranormal, otherworldly, extraterrestrial, please email me at GemmaJadeParanormal@gmail.com so I can put them in my listener encounter series. 16 is coming soon, guys. I got such a great response. I am working on choosing the stories. I'm kind of just going down the list. Whatever's not in 16 will be in 17. Be kind to each other, guys. It doesn't cost anything. Be kind to yourselves and never accept anything less than others being kind to you. Always go in grace. Smile at a stranger today, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.